got a controversial one this week. Uh, I always do controversial topics, but I feel like this one is especially controversial because people get really passionate about this argument. The same way that they would if they were arguing with a serial killer, which, I can kind of understand that. But, I, I, I talk a lot about controversial topics and things that I think are important to talk about because, there's a reason that these things are controversial is because they're important, because they matter, because you have to have a strong opinion about it. And I did my first 10 episodes talking a lot about existential kind of stuff and moral philosophy, just philosophy in general. And I touched on a couple social issues, but I wanted the next 10 episodes, sort of like the second season, to be more directly about social issues with a little bit of moral philosophy. So kind of like the other side of it. But that's why the topics have been more controversial. And this is almost like the third part of a trilogy. Excuse me. Um, this is like the third part of a trilogy where I kind of have the first one that I did was called Gender and Pronouns. The second one was called Morality and Sexuality. And they were both a lot about morality, but the second one was more about what is the correlation between sexual anything and morality. Like, what is morality and what does it have to do with what you do in your private time in the bedroom? That was the question. And I addressed it in great detail. I talked for almost an hour last week. I hope I don't do that again this week. But for most of you watching, you already know because you're not watching it live. There's only one person watching it live. So for most of you watching, you already know how long this is. I don't though, so I just hope that it's not super long because I don't like when I make the 50-minute ones. I like them to be more to the point, and I try to keep them about 30 minutes. But it'll be as long as it is because it doesn't end until I say everything I need to say. So this one, the reason that I did abortion and mercy killings is because it's kind of in the same category of is murder wrong and what stance do you take? It's like, is there a situation where it's okay to end a life, basically? And there we're very divided on this. So there are a lot of reasons. I have it broken down into 3 chapters, as usual. In the first chapter, I have reasons to be pro-life, which means there's never an excuse to kill anyone or anything. Pro-choice, which means it's up to the person if they want to live or die, or you can, you can have an abortion, and abortion just means basically canceling your pregnancy. Like you have a baby growing inside of you, and then you decide that you don't want to give birth to it. So that's what an abortion is. And a mercy killing is when something is in pain or someone is in pain, and you kill them to relieve the pain because there's no other option. I could use an example. You find a hurt animal on the side of the road, or somebody that you love is in a coma and they're never going to wake up. Why would you keep them alive? There are a lot of people who are like, yeah, you could go ahead and kill that person. And then there are people who are like, no, don't you pull the plug on me, uh, and it's just, it's interesting to me, so I want to address both sides of it. So we're going to be mainly focused on abortion, though. So chapter 1, pro-life reasons. And these are some of the most common reasons that I've heard that people are pro-life. A couple of these I heard from friends of mine, and some of these I just heard from people online and research, and just, even from hearing the opposing side of it, I've heard these arguments. And I just want to address everything so that both sides feel heard, because I understand that it's very possible that people who are on either side are going to be watching this. I feel like I haven't really gotten a lot of arguments in my previous controversial videos. I haven't seen anybody arguing with me or disagreeing with me. Maybe one person, but it was someone who didn't even watch the video and had no interest or intention. So, you know, please don't argue with me if you're not even going to watch what I'm saying. Like, it's just so disrespectful to assume that you know what I would generally be talking about. You skim around, you watch parts of the video, but you don't watch the whole thing. And then you think that you know enough to argue with me. Maybe part of the argument that I would make to you is something I already said in the video that you didn't watch. So watch it so I don't have to keep repeating the same things to you when I'm arguing with you. It's just a waste of time and it's disrespectful. And it's just stupid. It's just a stupid thing to do. I would never try to argue with someone when I haven't even heard them out. It's just so arrogant. Um, so like when somebody comes at me and they disagree with me, instead of immediately coming back at them and telling them, actually, I'm right, I say, okay, why do you disagree with me? Let me hear your reasons. Let me try to understand it. So we're going to talk about the reasons that people are pro-life. And the first one that I have written here is think of who they could have become if you had let them grow. And that's one of the most common ones that I've heard is that if you have an abortion, you're removing the possibility that your baby could have grown into an amazing, world-changing person. Maybe your baby could become the president. Maybe you're having a girl and she could be the first female president. Maybe she could be an activist, or maybe she could be an incredible singer who moves a lot of people and changes their lives. Maybe you have a boy and he does a bunch of incredible things. Like, I don't know, there could be any number of things, and you're like, but think of who they could have become if you had given birth to them. And this is based on some presumptions, I think. The first one is that, and this is just something that's kind of overlooked. This isn't really a presumption, but this is something that's overlooked where you're not thinking about that it's this exact same result as if you just never got pregnant in the first place. If you have an abortion or you don't get pregnant, it makes no difference. It's the exact same result. Nobody knows any different except you. You know that you almost had a baby, but you didn't. Um, so it's exactly the same thing. Then of course there's the flip side of that where you could say, but what if you have a kid and you give birth to it and you raise it for a couple of years and then you drown it in the bathtub? That's not the same thing, because this became that became a person of its own, where they made friends and had interactions with people. They knew people, and you met them. You actually got to meet them, look them in the eyes, and think of them as a person. And then this is the argument, the second one that I have written here. Life begins at conception, and terminating a pregnancy is murder. This is the other thing is, the whole point of the video is murder always wrong without exception. So the central question seems to be, is it murder to kill something that hasn't been born yet? And is murder wrong? I think the answer is no, and almost all the time. So I could give you a very simple example of the latter question, because first of all, if you were kidnapped and you were in a situation where you couldn't hurt your kidnapper to get away, you couldn't find a way to get away without killing them, the only way somebody's got you locked in their basement, and the only way you're going to manage to escape is if you kill them. And maybe somebody's attacking you. Someone is holding a knife to your throat, and you have a knife in your pocket that you could reach out and you could stab them in the neck. And you are like, no, I would rather let them cut me in the neck, because if I reach out my knife and I stab them in the neck, that's murder, and that's always wrong. Kill or be killed. In this situation, I don't think there's a single person in the world who would just let the crazy person, just some random person who jumped on top of you in an alleyway with a knife, holding it to your neck. And if you have the ability to pull out a knife from your own pocket and kill them to get them off of you, why wouldn't you do that? Maybe you try to find a way to hurt them without them killing you, but if you do anything else, they've got the knife right up to your neck. They could kill you. So are you really going to try to avoid killing them just at the risk of them killing you? What if you die? Are you willing to give up your own life just so you don't have to kill anyone else? And this is the central question. Why are humans so much more valuable than the things that we kill without a second thought? You take medicine, you kill germs. Germs are alive. Everything is alive if you think about it. It exists. It's real. It's material. It's part of the world around you. It may not technically be what we consider alive, but it exists. It's part of creation. It's part of existence. And we kill things all the time. You see a mosquito on your finger, you're going to smack it. Without even thinking about it, you're going to smack. You're not just going to let a mosquito suck your blood out and leave a little itchy bump there. These are things we do without thinking. And you're committing murder. And there are plenty of times we would say, well, humans are different. No, they're not, first of all. Um, if you would kill a bug, killing a human is no different. It's all alive. It's all the same thing. And there is a time and a place when it's okay, when no one's going to judge you. Um, and this is something I was just thinking about too, is rights. Because people love to brag about how they have the right to do this, or you don't have the right to do that. And when it comes to the third thing I have written here is abortions and mercy killings and suicide are all an insult to creation and life, because God gives you life and everything is about creation and this is all real and it's there. And to kill yourself, to kill someone, to put them out of pain, or to have an abortion, that's all a direct insult to God. And they use that same argument for people who are in a homosexual relationship, because you can't create life in that circumstance. And it's like all this same argument of God has creation and it's an insult to God. So then they say, I have the right to my religion. I have the right to believe what I want to believe. And where did that right come from? This is the thing. George Carlin said, I believe that we either have the right to do anything we want or we have no rights at all. So he said, personally, I believe that we have the right to do anything we want. I have the right to say whatever I want, but if I say something you don't like, I think you have the right to kill me. And, he was just joking, but it's kind of a funny point to make. And he also said, the next guy who tells me I have the right to my opinion, I'll say, well, yeah, I have the right to my opinion, and in my opinion, you have no right to your opinion. And I'm like, seriously though, I mean, what, like, if it's that easy to override someone's opinion, all you have to do is say, in my opinion, you have no right to your opinion. And then we're at a standstill here, where you're trying to advocate for people's rights to their opinions. But it's like advocating that everyone should have the ability to do anything. And then if everyone has the ability to do anything, what happens when you disagree? And you want one thing, the other person wants the other thing, but you both can make anything happen. So which one wins? It doesn't work that way. When two equally powerful forces have conflicting ideas and agendas, something's not functioning. And that doesn't seem like anything divine, so I don't want to hear any God-given right. If it's that easy to butt heads with somebody, it doesn't seem organized in any way. It's a flaw, which means it's human thinking. It's a human idea. Because we are inherently flawed, and the only right that we have is the right to choose between love and fear, the right to choose to go high or low energetically. And that's the only right that we have. We always have free will. We always have that ability. I don't care if you're born with all the most restrictive things in the world. You can't move. You're paralyzed. Whatever it is, like you have all these brain issues and things that like this. You're considered mentally unstable or mentally ill, and you were just born that way. I don't care what condition you have. There is no excuse to choose fear over love, because you're always going to have that decision. You could have like the most amount of disabilities, mental and physical, of anyone in the world, and you could still choose love over fear. You're never going to lose that ability to make that decision, no matter what your circumstances are. So stop being a victim and making excuses for yourself, because it doesn't help. It doesn't help you, doesn't help anybody. It just People like to be a victim. People like to pretend that it's the world against them, and they can't do anything right. They try and nothing works out the way they want. And it's not realistic. It's not accurate. Um, my snowman is gone. I always had a snowman in the background, but it's not winter anymore. I mean, it technically still is, but you wouldn't know it from looking outside. All the snow's gone. So we just took away all our decorations. I still got the owl painting. But anyway, just wanted to mention that for anyone who was wondering where it went. It's in the basement. So I did cover all the reasons that I had written down, but there's some other reasons to be pro-life. and I want to address those too. One of them is just kind of an emotional one of I just can't picture this little innocent fetus that's developing being killed. That just breaks my heart to imagine an innocent life being taken. And mid or late term abortions are like inhumane. That's another one. um, they're done after the baby can feel pain. And then on the flip side of that, I hear the exact opposite. I hear that most, if not all, legal abortions are done before the baby can feel anything, and that it's just a clump of cells. Like, it's just interesting to hear these opposing sides, and I have heard a lot, so I'm not speaking from any place of ignorance. But the third chapter is my favorite one because that's where I'm going to be talking the most about. It's called Morality and Legality, so you can imagine what I'm going to be talking about there. But if I don't have anything else to say on pro-life reasons, if anyone watching is pro-life, I only have one person watching, so I doubt this, but anyone watching, if you're not watching live, just leave a comment and tell me what reasons you have to be pro-life. I mean, I think I covered all of them. I covered the religious one of it's an insult to creation. Um, I covered the emotional one, I just can't picture a baby dying, and I covered the practical one, what if the baby grows up to do amazing things? Um, and terminating a pregnancy is murder, and life begins at conception. So yeah, I think I covered all of them. I don't think there's any other reasons to be pro-life. Um, it's inhumane, it hurts the baby. Yeah, I covered it all. So I'm going to move on to chapter 2, which is pro-choice reasons. And this is the opposite. This is all the reasons to be pro-choice. So the first one that I have here, and these aren't my own, these are just things that I've heard. All of these are just things that I've heard. I'm not going to get to my own stuff until chapter 3. But chapter 2, pro-choice reasons. The first one is abortion is crucial in cases of rape or high risk of death. That's a thing, when you find out that it's highly likely that you could die giving birth. Or if the baby was not your choice, somebody uh, did not understand the word no and had the arrogance to think that it's their place to do whatever they want. It's so interesting sometimes when you just listen um, to the way that some men talk about women without even realizing how completely misogynistic it is. And it hurts you too. It's not healthy for anybody. It doesn't benefit you to think that way. It holds you back from being whole, from being authentic. There's fear involved. Wouldn't it feel good to just relax, to just freaking calm down and not have to worry about anything, to just let go of everything that you're afraid of and just be right where you are without any fear and just feel at peace? That's not a bad thing. Why wouldn't you want that? But these people who feel so angry or like they need to hurt somebody or do something, it's coming from fear. And to me, it's so obvious. Like I can logically break it down how it's coming from fear. But then there's so many people who blame it on other things. It's anger. It's this. It's that. It's and all these other emotions. But it's not real. The only two emotions are love and fear. Every other emotion you have can be traced back to one of those two things, and that's just a fact. It's not a belief. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. And I mean, technically, it might not be a fact if you look at what things have to go through to become considered a fact. But that's just a technicality. I guess I should just say it's the truth. Because I don't want anybody telling me, well, technically, it's not a fact. Like, you're making a difference by telling me that. Right, you proved me wrong by catching me on a technicality. You got me there. People like that irritate me so much. So yeah, abortion in a case of rape or high risk of death, that's the main reason to be pro-choice. The other one is something I already mentioned, that if it's done legally, it should be done in a humane way and before the baby is like developed enough to feel it. And this is kind of my own thing. I don't know. I feel like I've heard other things like this, but it's kind of like I feel like if it can't live outside of you, it's not its own life yet. Like you 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 are providing for this baby. It's taking your food, your nutrients, it's making you gain weight, stretching you out, changing all your hormones, and it's affecting so much. It's just stealing your food. You're buying twice as much food for this baby. And that's because it can't live outside of you. It's not alive really, because if you had removed it from you, it would die immediately. It has to be a certain amount of months old before it can live outside of you. So it's still in you, which means it's part of you. It's not its own life. It's part of you. It's the same as if you had a parasite, because a parasite can't live outside of you. The whole point of a parasite is that it needs a host to take nutrients from. A fetus, in a lot of ways, is very similar to a parasite. It has a lot of things in common to it, and they're not that cute either. You know, for anybody who thinks a unborn developing fetus is cute, if you ever look at a sonogram, they look like a little alien. They're weird looking. They're not as cute as they are when they're finished and they come out finished and ready to be part of the world. When they're in development, they're weird looking, um, and that, like, just so you're not like too, because for the reason of wanting people to think about the baby, like it's tech, not technically, because technically it doesn't have all the things it needs to be considered a parasite, but um it has too many things in common with a parasite to not think of it that way. So it's up to you. You're choosing, you're growing it inside of you, you're choosing if you want to bring it into the world and raise it. But um my own, okay, I think I covered pro-choice reasons. Again, same deal goes for the first one. If you have any reasons to be pro-choice that I did not mention, which I'm sure there are a lot, because there's a lot more reasons to be pro-choice than there are to be pro-life, which is telling enough on its own. But I'm gonna cover some more stuff in chapter 3. So after you finish the video, if I still haven't mentioned all the reasons to be pro-choice and you feel there's something that I left out, leave it in the comments. Same for the pro-life people. I want everybody to leave their opinions in the comments. And chapter 3 is going to be covering more about the mercy killings things. We're going to go into a lot of detail on the full title and concept of the video. So, chapter 3, morality and legality. So, the first thing I have written here is that morality comes from religion and belief, but love and fear is objective. So, this is my system for morality, and I've talked about this in great detail in my last 2 videos. Like I said, this is kind of the third part of a trilogy, so go watch the other 2 after this is over if you haven't seen those. I'm wearing the same shirt in the first one. I have my favorite shirts. I wear them a lot. So anyway, yeah, so here's the thing. Morality originally is a religious thing, and that's why there's a lot of controversy around what's considered moral and what isn't, because it's really up to your belief. But when you have, see, okay, I'm going to explain my belief real quick. No, actually, I'm going to start with the other belief. So, most religions, hi, somebody said hi, something with Billie Eilish and Blackpink and BTS. Okay, uh, yeah, I do upload music, but I have another channel where I specifically just upload music there. It's still a work in progress. I have to upload more stuff. I'm working on moving everything from this channel to that channel, but for now I still have music on both channels. But if you're subscribed for music, go to the other channel, because I'm not doing this channel is for this. And other things. I have other things planned that I want to do on this channel, but for now it's just Fallen World. I'm going to do like a guided meditation and probably other series. I was thinking of doing music reviews or just reviews in general, but I just got that idea this morning. I'm not sure about that. There's a ton of things that I could do. I'm just not sure where or when I would do it, because this only works because I have a schedule. I do it every Sunday at 4 p.m. and I get my family out of the way so I can do it in a nice environment with a good background. Alternatively, I could do it in my room, but I don't know that it would be as good of a background. I might be doing it on my iPad, which would be like angled a weird way, or I guess I could bring my phone up and like position it in a certain way, but I don't know. I'll figure something out. I might just do it here and have everybody go somewhere, but I don't want to like, make people leave. It's just easier if they know when to expect it every Sunday. But I'm ranting. This is totally unrelated to the topic. I wanted to talk about reasons, religious reasons that people are pro-life. So, hi Tristan. Hi. What is your name? Rida, Ryda. Do I know you? um, okay, so sometimes I don't know if I know people because I don't recognize their names or their profile pictures, and then they tell me how I know them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do know you. I've met a lot of people, so I sometimes I don't know who I'm talking to. Um, anyway, it's like what I said before with the whole it's against creation. That's kind of the main reason that people think God is against it. Murder is wrong. But like I said, if somebody was on top of you and the only way to get them off was to kill them or let them kill you if you don't kill them, I think you would do it. I don't think anybody would let themselves die. Um, if you had to kill to save your life, you would do it, basically. And don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me that you wouldn't kill to save your life. You definitely would. You would not let yourself die just because you don't want to be a killer. That's insane. That is completely insane. And if you need me to explain why that's insane, go watch another video because this is not that. That's like way too obvious. But just watch my other videos because I'm sure if you watch all of them, you'll get an understanding of why that's nuts. Uh, but yeah, so that's the main religious reason is that it's murder and mercy killings and suicide and abortions are all just an insult to God who created life and who created everything. But that's just a belief. It's not a fact. It's not, there's no proof behind it. And I've asked people, I've said, so this is your religion? You're a Muslim, you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're this, you're that, whatever it is. Why? What is your reason for having this religion? Atheists. Why are you an atheist? Why are you certain that there's no God? And I like hearing it. I like understanding what their reasons are because I get a lot of interesting information. But I haven't gotten anything that proved anything either way. It's all still based on some amount of blind faith, trust, or just jumping to conclusions. You hear one thing and you're like, I had this coincidence or this experience and it showed me that this was the truth. And then I'm like, okay, what was this coincidence? And then they tell me, and I'm like, if that happened to me, here's how I would have interpreted it. And they're like, wait a minute. So you can still believe in that this happened to me, but you wouldn't draw the same conclusion that I did? What? It's like, um, and that just goes to show you that it's really not, how are you? I'm good. I'm pretty good. Yeah. I just had Taco Bell. Yeah. Anyway, tacos. I had 2 tacos and 2 quesadillas. So I can eat a lot. I never gain any weight somehow. But I don't know. Just totally unrelated. Don't know why I said that. I just think it's funny. Anyway, I think that what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah. Um you can hear the same thing and have 2 totally different interpretations. So doesn't that at least give you pause? Doesn't that at least make you question if your faith is really coming from a place of authenticity or if it's coming from a place of clinginess, of wanting to believe something? And I could tell you what I believe about how things work. Um, I believe in coincidences, or rather, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities. I believe in kind of order to things. I believe everything kind of exists in a really, it just is, it's real, but it's not real. It's sort of like everything is an illusion, but it's as real as it is. I don't know how to make that make more sense. But you just kind of have to sit with it and just try to understand it, let it make sense to you because it's hard to put into words, but it's the truth. Um, it's just everything is an illusion. And I think that's more true than everything being real, but it's still, they're both true, obviously. Um, But once you understand it, you're like, of course, how could anything else be true? But before you understand it, you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So you just have to take my word for it. Just sit with it and try to understand it, and don't try to overthink it. Just be open to letting the answers come to you, and don't try to make them up, because you're you're getting in the way. You're blocking your intuition. Um, but how I believe things work is that you basically, when you die, you get to go into a kind of higher dimension. Everything is about dimensions. It's all the same thing, and it's all one thing. It's not like there's a heaven and there's a hell and there's different places, and like a different dimension is a different place. It's all one thing, but different dimensions are like, you can be sleeping and going to different dimensions, doing different things. I mean, let me give you an example. I'm here right now talking to you. I'm on your device, whatever you're listening to this on, but also I'm in my house and I'm looking out my window and I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking at a paper and you're hearing me, but I'm not really there. We can be in multiple places at once. We can think about someone and be there with them. They can think about us and we can be in their heads. We can be in multiple places at the same time. And we can do work with different people in different dimensions and different in that same level where it's like when you're asleep and you're having a dream and that feels real until you wake up and then this feels real. But wherever you are, it always feels real because it always is. There's no such thing as something that's not real. Um, because it's all the same thing. So, you can be sometimes your dreams can be a result of what you ate or what you were thinking about during the day, and your dreams should more often be something that is, you could be astral projecting or, doing work with people that you knew in past lives, or we have contracts basically. It's not a literal contract, but it might as well be, where it's like you have work that you're supposed to do with them, and if you don't get it done by working with them in person, you can do it energetically. And this teacher that I'm like obsessed with, Ivy Rivera, she says that she has this thing where she would, before she gets into a confrontation with someone, she says, "My higher mind would like to talk to your higher mind, or my inner child would like to play with your inner child," and just have them have the confrontation in that way first, and the two of you will meet each other's higher minds before you meet the human version of this person, which is likely going to be very reactionary and fear-based and not authentic. So it's healthier to do that first. But that's the thing, is that it's all the same thing. So when you die, you just kind of lose this physical form and you just go into that other higher dimension. But you still have to choose if you want to stay on Earth and have control of managing things. Maybe you think you have unfinished business that you can only do if you stay on Earth. Maybe you're afraid that if you let go of control, you're going to end up in hell, because you can carry your beliefs with you. That's a big reason a lot of people stay on Earth, is because they think that something bad's going to happen to them. They're not confident of who they were, or they're just confused. They just don't know what happened. They were not prepared for death. They had an idea of what it was going to feel like, and it was not what they expected. So they weren't ready to kind of ascend and into that higher dimension. They just they don't know what's going on. They don't know what to expect, and that's another really common thing. And people who don't let go, people who hold on to control, they are called earthbounds because they're here. They're roaming around Earth because they think that they need to hold on to something, and it's weighing them down. And if they let go of control and they surrender to the universal system that's in place, that is smarter than them, that is there for them, and that's they're part of, whether they already know it or not, that they're supposed to be working with, because it's where you came from. You're from it originally. You're part of it, and it's a system, and you don't have to make up your own system or work apart from it or feel like you're working for it. You're working with it. It's just you're part of the bigger machine, and you can't work with it if you're busy trying to have control and work for yourself. You have to be able to say, I'm here, I'm ready to be of service. I want to live in service of the light. And if you live that way, you'll die with that mentality too. And you'll be able to get used to it. You can like study things and learn about what it feels like to die. I was given a memory of dying in a past life, so I feel like I could describe how it feels to die perfectly. Like I can just tap into it and I know exactly how it feels to just kind of go into that space. It's a little hard to describe, but I've had it I had to ask a couple mediums if it was like an actual memory or if I was just imagining it, but they all kind of said the same thing. Also, for people who don't believe in that, um, not that this video is to convince you of my beliefs, because the reason that I brought up my own beliefs is to make a different point. But just for the record, um, spirit communication, mediumship, all of that is very, very real. And the easiest way to prove it is to talk to different mediums and see if they all tell you the same thing. Alternatively, you could ask them something that they couldn't have possibly known: what I had for dinner last night, what movie did I watch yesterday, what number am I thinking of between 1 and 100, like things that they could not possibly guess accurately if they're trying to con you. Because I know all about like cold readings and reading your body language and using information that they already had about you if they looked you up with your name in advance, like all these things like this. um, Ivy Rivera that I mentioned, she trains people to do that, to be mediums. And one of the things that she has her students do is stand facing, she has volunteers come in like guinea pigs, and they get readings from the people, and she also has them stand facing away from them with their eyes closed, and she has a stranger come up behind them and put their hand on their shoulder, and then you have to say what color shirt the person is wearing or something like that, and then the person puts their hand on your right shoulder if the answer is yes, and this if the answer is no, if you got it wrong or something like that. And she watches it, and she's seen some people guess right and know the color shirt that the person's wearing or whatever it is, whatever they're guessing, their eye color or anything. And the person says that they got it wrong just to mess with them, just to make them doubt themselves. People do really like nasty stuff like that all the time. I'm trying not to swear, but I'm like annoyed right now because it's like I don't understand why someone would do that. But there are people who will go in and will get readings from Ivy, and she'll say super accurate stuff like, I see you writing a book and I see you cooking, and they're just sitting there going, no, nope, this is all, none of this makes any sense. And eventually Ivy just was like, come on, what are you doing? And she was like, well, I am writing a book, but it's this long and it's not this long. And I am a chef, but I don't know, I don't make this kind of food, or just like weird little things where it's like you can't expect it to be like every single detail, like they're, because you're missing the point. They're getting this information, they're not there to prove that they're real, they're there to give you a message, because what they're, if you're an authentic reader, you're channeling from the light, because there's light and there's dark, high and low, love and fear. And it's, the fear is all about chaos and control, and not working within that system, which will only slow you down. It's all about temporary things, things that don't last, things that will break down over time, just deception and lies, and just things that are all fake. It's not real and it's not lasting. That's what the dark is all about. So you don't want to be working with that, because that'll hold you back, that'll only confuse you. And it's easier to just immediately tune it out. Like, don't even question, well, what if I did work with the dark? Because it's like, there are people who would deliberately do it, there are people who get manipulated by it, don't know they're doing it. But most of us are feeding the dark, not deliberately, because we're not educated on it, we don't know discernment, we don't believe in things like this, and then we end up making all of our decisions from a place of fear, and it takes a toll on your mental health. And then you end up in a situation where it's really not in your control anymore. You've just turned yourself into a vegetable. You're just completely reactionary. You can even get possessed by darker energies that want to drain you and feed on you. And you can have attachments, things that follow you around, like all sorts of terrible things can happen. You have to really be careful, and just mindful. That's all it is. Just take ownership of who you are, of your energy, of your higher mind. Just be mindful. It's not that hard. If you're active in it, if you understand that there's really no other option, it's not a choice. It's not like it's easier to not think of it as an option. Well, I could do this, but it'd be easier to not. That's not an option. You're doing this. You have to. That's it. That's the only way. There's only delaying it. There's no getting around it. You want to make it to level 9, you have to go through level 5, 6, 7, and 8 first. You can't just skip. That's like it. Like if you think of it as a game, like otherwise you're just going to be stuck in level 4. Like don't think of it as an option. That's not an option. There's nothing else to do. There's nowhere else to go. This is it. This is life. It's about moving forward. You don't want to get stuck. So don't pay attention to stuck energy and dark energy. Don't feed it. But when the thing is, what the reason that I brought this up is that when you die and you have your you have a life contract, like how I said that you have work contracts with people, and there's people that you have work to do. You work with them, and you accomplish things, and you can have soulmate contracts with people where you have to do work in kind of a romantic way, or maybe maybe you have a soulmate contract and it's not romantic, or just a general work contract, and there's really no getting around this. You have to do it and just get it done. You work with this person, you're not going to be able to move on from them. You're both going to be thinking about each other. You're not going to be able to just cut each other out of each other's lives. And whatever you can't get done in person, you can get done like in dreams and other dimensions. But this happened last week. Somebody came home and made noise behind me. Anyway, I'm gonna try and wrap this up because I feel like there's just not much left to say. Basically, when you draw up your life contract and you decide what you want to do, you are you're picking out everything that you're going to accomplish in your life. So you have pivotal years. You have years that you're going to be doing important things, and it's important also to understand free will versus destiny charted future, because there's some things that are just going to happen. They're just set to happen. The planets are aligned for it. It's going to happen no matter what. And then there's things that are kind of up to you, and they depend on your free will. But in your life contract, anything that you're doing that's not part of your life contract is really just a waste of time. But if you can do things faster, you can get a lot done like in a row, but there are deadlines. So the opposite isn't true. Like if you don't get something done by a certain point and you miss it, sometimes that's it. But whatever you don't get done, you have to just reincarnate and you'll do it over again. So there's, like I said, there's no getting around it. There's only delaying it, and that's pointless. So it's best not to think of that as even an option. But when you pick your parents and you draw up a life contract and you say, I'm going to come through as this gender, and this is the name that I'm picking, and this is the life that I want to have. When you pick your parents, they could still choose to get separated before getting pregnant. Your mom might choose not to ever get pregnant. Or she could choose to have an abortion. And it's all kind of the same thing, because they have free will and you have to work around that. If you pick your parents or you pick your mom and she decides not to have a child, even if she doesn't get an abortion, she just never gets pregnant in the first place, that's her decision. And you say, okay, I'll find another way to you. So you come through a friend of hers or a relative or something. I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure my mom always felt that she was supposed to have a little brother, and she my grandma had an abortion. I'm not sure at what point. I'm not sure if it was before my mom was born or after that, or my other my grandma's other kid, my aunt. I'm not sure at what point that was, but I know at some point she had an abortion. And I think it's very possible that I was planning on originally coming through as my mom's brother. But when that didn't work out, I said, okay, I'll be her son instead. And we've always had that kind of relationship too. We've always had like a brother-sister kind of relationship. And we also found out that we've been in each other's lives a lot in the past. And the first time that we were in each other's lives, which was a really long time ago, I was her older sister and she was my little brother. So it kind of makes sense that we kind of went back to that feeling of like brother and sister relationship. I think I'm actually going to do a video with her next week because I want to do one on parenting, and I'm pretty sure next week is the one. I don't know if I'll do it next week, but I want to get it done at some point this season before I make it to episode 20 and then start something new with episode 21. Or, no, yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Um, so next week I might have a video with her. She'll just be next to me, and we're going to be talking about parenting because I've been thinking a lot about that. It's a really important topic, and I don't want to do it by myself because I've never had a kid. But yeah, so that's basically what it is. But the thing is that if one half believes that having an abortion is murder and that it's against God, but then I'm here believing that having an abortion is just letting the person use their free will and that it's no different than them choosing not to get pregnant at all, and that you still will come back. It's not even really killing you. It's not canceling your life. You find a way to come here. Like, I mean, honestly, if that is accurate, then it's very possible that I was aborted and still am here now, which kind of defeats the whole abortion is murder argument. Because I definitely believe in reincarnation. There's way too much evidence of people who remember things that they couldn't possibly know from past lives. I remember things that I don't even know where I know it from. Like, I remember being, I don't know, like 1 or 2 years old and knowing things that I was never exposed to and thinking about things that I never was exposed to and that I would have no way of imagining or making up because I just got here. So to me, reincarnation isn't even a question, but I feel like I definitely was originally going to come through as my grandma's kid, and then I decided when she decided that she didn't want that, I found another way. And that's just how it works. And I understand that you don't have to believe that. You don't have to. I understand that I can't prove it. I can't show you that this is objectively a fact and this is how it works. But you have to at least consider the possibility, and you have to at least acknowledge that if I can believe that it's totally okay, and then the other half believes that it's not, what does this have anything to do with the law? Because law is supposed to be about like objective facts and stuff that's, protecting citizens and things like this. Um, so if you're going to make something illegal based on a conflicting belief that has absolutely no basis in logic or facts, it just kind of seems like you have no choice but to lean pro-choice in that situation. So legally, there's definitely no way to convince somebody that abortion should be illegal because it's not inhumane when it's done legally. Late-term abortions can be inhumane, but I still think that it's nobody, first of all, nobody's going to get a late-term abortion. Nobody is going to be 8 months pregnant and say, you know what? Nope. That doesn't happen. But if it did happen, it is not your place to tell them no. It's not your body. You're not the one who has to push it out. So it even in that situation, like, no. If you want to say personally, I would never get an abortion because I believe that it's wrong. That's your decision. No one is trying to make you have an abortion. All anyone is saying is my body, my choice. And there is no logical reason for the law to not back that up. So, regardless of what you believe, it's just a belief, and the law has nothing to do with beliefs. That's a fact. So, yeah, what do I have written here? Morality comes from religion and belief, but love and fear is objective. We all have free will, and we are supposed to respect that in one another. One belief says it's moral, another says it isn't, so the law is unrelated. Yeah, I think I covered all of that. Except for the love and fear is objective thing. That's basically, except I covered that in my past 2 videos. So that's how I define morality. If you can determine whether or not your decision is coming from a place of fear, then you'll know if you should make the decision or not. And it's that simple. That's morality, because that's the only right you have, the right to make that decision. So yeah, I think I covered everything. Leave stuff in the comments. Somebody's coming downstairs, so I'm going to end this. Leave stuff in the comments if you have any questions or anything you want to add. And thank you for watching.